I'm in trouble again. Yesterday we had a great show, and I talked about being in trouble and trouble again. And I thought, hey man, let's finish this show. Let's talk about why Todd's in trouble again. You're gonna want to know why I'm in trouble again, and you're gonna want to know why you're in trouble again. I'm in trouble again. Everybody, I'm in trouble again. You're in trouble again. At some point in your life, you're gonna be in trouble. And I literally, we went on about it yesterday, and I was just kind of moved by my own troubleness. I was kind of moved by your troubleness, and I think the word trouble is kind of probably overplayed a little bit in my regards. But I do remember being in trouble when I was a little boy, and I think that's what really kind of spawned the topic of being in trouble. As an adult, I would think that I wouldn't get in trouble. As an adult, you think you think that you don't get in trouble, but you do. I mean, the word trouble is just almost troubling. We had a game when I was a child, and it was called Trouble, and you would like snap this bubble in the trouble board, and then a number would come up, and then you would take a little piece, a little coney piece, and you'd bounce how many pieces you could go around the board, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'd stop. And then we still play it now as grown-ups. My grandchildren love to play trouble because they're always in trouble. And I tell them, Papa's in trouble. You're in good company to be in trouble with Papa. But we play trouble, and the problem with the trouble game is that we get in more trouble playing trouble because the kids fight. They like, you didn't count the right numbers, Papa. You skipped I'm not cheating. I'm just trying to count by normal numbers, but the kids don't really understand that the game is trouble. And when I land on them, they have to go back to home base because they're in trouble. Like, that's the game. I don't care if you're 6. I'm going to win. I'm going to play hard, and trouble is trouble. And Nana's over there saying, you should take it easy on the grandkids. And I'm like, why would I take it easy on the grandkids? The game is trouble. Like, they know that we're going to play the game. They say, Papa, 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 can we play trouble? And so we play trouble, and then I beat them. And then they get all carried on and everything. And I'm trying to teach them a lesson on trouble. And Nana wants me to lay off on the grands. I think that's trouble. I mean, I think the trouble in trouble is not making the trouble for the trouble players. I digress. Sometimes wonder where my show is going to go. Actually, often I wonder where my show is going to go. But I'm in trouble again. I was in trouble with Judah. I took him to the Target, and I don't know where $300 went, but those kids walked out of there with clothing, games, and toys, and all kinds of stuff. I was in trouble when I brought all that back. I was in trouble because I didn't get back in time. I was in trouble because I played trouble. I just think I'm destined to be in trouble. I think getting in trouble is not something you like. So I guess what I wanted to share with you this morning is this idea of getting in trouble even as an adult. Can you get in trouble as an adult? I remember getting whooped in elementary school. I don't raise your hand out there. I wish I could see people, listeners out there. But did you ever get the SWAT, the proverbial SWAT in the elementary school? I think it was pretty popular back in the 70s. Like if you weren't cool if you didn't get the whack. If you weren't in a little trouble, you weren't like living the American dream and pushing back a little bit, because the trouble at the school wasn't the trouble that it was the trouble. It was dad when I got home. I literally remember cutting a deal with the principal once. I was in sixth grade and I got in some trouble. And I remember what I did. I don't know if I want to share it with you, but we were in a classroom. Mr. Tinsworth, something like that. Tinsday. So I remember his name. It was a man teacher, Mr. Tinley, or something of that nature. I was just being friendly with some of the kids, and I kind of picked on kid that I thought was kind of a fun. I mean, you could pick on people back then, and you didn't get shamed, because it was reasonably fun to banter back and forth. But I went a little too far, I think, with this particular person, and the teacher said, that's going to cost you, Mr. Saylor. And I'm like, yes, sir, I understand. And so the things I said, the fun I had made with this particular person didn't land very well. And I realized that I had crossed the line. And he says to me, you're going to have to go see the principal after this break of this class, and you're going to have to deal with this, and I'll send a note, and blah, blah. And I remember feeling so bad about being in trouble. Like I had the nerves. I mean, to this day, even as a 58-year-old man, if I feel like I'm in trouble, I still get the same stomach nerves. It's like, you don't not get in trouble. You still have troubling feelings, whether it's financial or personal. I mean, I think it's even worse when you're in trouble with like a friend or something, like you did something or you had to make a decision that wasn't going to make everything right, and you just didn't want harmony and this or that, and you get that butterflies. So I was in sixth grade and I realized that I was in trouble, and I've always been that type of person that like, okay, give me my medicine now. I realized it. I apologized, but it wasn't good enough, and so I had to go see the principal after class. Well, this idea of studying in class and waiting on this proverbial board was agonizing to me. So I remember I raised my hand and I said, can I go to the bathroom? And the teacher kind of looked at me and said, sure, you're excused. And so I remember getting up, all the kids staring at me. I walk out the door, I shut the door, and I walk down to the bathroom. But I realized that if I walked down two more doors, I could be at that principal's office. Yeah, you're right. I did it. So instead of going to the bathroom, I just kept walking right to the principal's office. I wanted out of that class. I wanted to deal with this situation. I was in trouble. I knew I was going to have to take some medicine. I wasn't going to sit there for another 30, 40 minutes wondering how whooping's going to feel. And so I raised my hand to go to the bathroom and went right to the principal's office. The principal's name was Mr. Zimmerman. And Mr. Zimmerman and my dad were besties, I guess. I know they knew each other. My dad was a coach and he was the principal and he was the previous coach. And, it was a small town. There was nowhere you could hide, right? Like, you were the coach's son, for goodness sakes, right? And so I said, Mr. Zimmerman, I have a note for you. I didn't bring it to you, but I did this in class. And Mr. Tinsdale said that I was going to have to come see you and get reprimanded for picking on this person in this way. I feel bad. I've apologized, but I really would like to take my whooping right now. And I remember him looking at me in this desk, and he wasn't an overly, powerfully large man, but he had that face. He's like, Why would you say that? Well, got away from me, sir. I'm disappointed in you. And when he said I was disappointed in you, it was like, oh, man, I know this is getting back to my dad. The disappointment piece was I wasn't prepared for that burn. And I said, well, so what are we going to do? And he says, well, you see that board up there? There's board 1 and board 2. You got a board with no holes, and then you got a board with holes. Which board would you like? And I remember distinctly saying this to him. which one would hurt the most? And he looked at me and he said, well, Mr. Sailor, I've not had either board, but the general consensus is the board with the holes hurts the most. And I said, I'll take that one. I turned around and he could barely reach the board with the hole. I remember because he was not a tall man. And he grabbed that board and he pulled it down. And he said, please bend over. I bend over. And I said, one moment, sir, how many of these am I getting? And he says, you will be getting 2. And I remember thinking, I mean, what do you got to do to get, 1? What do you got to do? And I remember thinking, what if I really got in some trouble? Would I get 3? Would I get 4? I don't know. The bizarreness of getting in trouble has always been a spectacle to me. And I've never really been bothered with pain. So this was probably an interesting moment for me. And I just remember SWAT 1, SWAT 2. And he said, you've handled this very well. I expect that you'll never do this again, Mr. Sailor. And I remember saying to him, yes, sir, I will not. I will never do this again. I almost think I said, I'll remember this the rest of my life. And then he said, is there anything else you'd like to say? And I said, are you going to be sharing this with my father? And he looked at me and he kind of smiled. And he said, this will just be between us. So, I'm in trouble again. I'm in trouble again. And I don't mean that I'm in trouble right now in my life. I just want you to understand that the trouble that I'm going to share with you, the trouble that I'm going to talk to you about, right? The trouble that we're going to talk about you today, the trouble I'm going to really share with you and teach with you and resonate with you is next.
Preview.
Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business figure for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
What a great intro. What a great story. All true story. We talk about a lot of my father and some things that we're going through in life here and this and that. And this is really about the trouble I'm in sometimes. This is really about the trouble that I think you get in sometimes. And it's really not even about trouble as much as that I want you to understand there's really only 2 ways that you get in trouble in this life. And being in business, being an entrepreneur, being a business person, being a relationship person, being somebody who cares, you need to really understand that God is going to stand for us. But I want you to understand that this trouble that I'm in is metaphorical. Right. But I do know that there's times like I have been in trouble with my oldest daughter probably more times than I can count on this hand, right? Because I have not made popular decisions with her. And you say, well, how can you be in trouble? You're the father. Well, at the end of the day, trouble is something that you feel in your stomach. Trouble is something that's uncomfortable, not setting well with you, something that your conscience is weighing on you. Like the trouble I felt going to that principle was the waiting on the punishment. The trouble was that who did I let down? The person's feelings that I hurt from what I said, the situation that maybe some people saw in the classroom that who knows, you didn't think that far as a child, but maybe I offended them as well. Was I trying to be cool? Was I being a bully? Was I not being a bully, but just trying to show off? Who knows? Probably all of them in some regards, but we're children are children. But at the end of the day, when all the mayhem settled down and I sat in that seat and I looked at the teacher and the child that was involved in this back and forth with me, the trouble was in my stomach. The trouble moved up my chest. It was in my mind, and the trouble had to be handled. And so the two pieces of trouble that I'm in, often or not often, however you want to look at it, let's pick on it with my daughter, is that sometimes I let people down, and I let them down in different ways. I let them down in maybe my vocabulary. Sometimes my wife, she gets upset when she hears me say an off-color word, and I shouldn't do that, but I do, and she's disappointed, and I'm in a little trouble with her. I don't think God's happy with me all the time. Sometimes I slip and my mind goes places it shouldn't go. And don't give me that. I know we all do it. I just want you to understand. And I feel bad about that. I'm in trouble. My stomach isn't settled. I have to do something about it. I have to go see the principal. I have to go talk to my wife. I've literally went back to my children. I've said, man, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I said that word, or I referred to you as something maybe you took wrong or was just offensive, and we were just being stupid humans. Yeah, I've had my children are 30 some years old now. I mean, like, I taught them a lot, and I taught them how to fight, right? And so it's not a coincidence that I get a bloody nose every once in a while, especially with my older daughter, Courtney. I'm not like, that's like, I raised her to push back. If you're listening, Courtney, I'm super proud of you. Best bloody nose I ever got was from Courtney Saylor. These children, like they were raised to be business people. They were raised to be warriors. They were raised to be Christians. They were raised to be fighters. They were raised, like, I remember getting into it, with them when they were like 8 and 9, or 9 and 10. They were 1 year apart exactly to the day. Within 2 days, October 1st and October 3rd. And I remember both of them gotten into a little bit of a thing in school, and they had to come home. And each time they got into trouble over something, I literally would either put them in timeout or something of that nature. I don't know what we did, but I did spank the first two. The third one, I don't think she ever got a spank. If Kendra, Courtney, if you're on this morning, did I ever spank Kara? I don't know. But the first two, they probably didn't get enough spankings. I could spank Courtney, and she'd basically, thank you, may I have another. I could spank Kendra, and she'd be screaming before I even got her over my knee. Two different people, two different kids. But one of the most effective things that I did with them when they got in trouble was they had to actually create a report and give me a speech on why they got in trouble and how they were going to fix the problem. And so they'd have to get up there. I made them, on one occasion especially, I even made them get dressed up, and they had to present and do the presentation. And so these kids were not, like, they got in trouble. I got in trouble. Most all of us get in trouble. And this whole idea of how do we deal with trouble? What is our piece for trouble? How you're not immune to trouble. And so the real reason I'm giving you this entire trouble message is that I want you to understand that the two reasons that you get in trouble in this life is when you let somebody down is the worst trouble. It all comes from you letting somebody down. You're in trouble. But then the flip side is that you're in trouble when somebody lets you down. So this whole letdown process, someone not fulfilling a commitment, you not fulfilling a commitment, that is where trouble begins, and that's where trouble ends. And this is a show today, a diatribe on just this idea of understanding that a guy like me who has done quite a few things and is always telling on himself, I think that's something that I do very often, that I wanted to bring this show that I started yesterday together today, metaphorically, and let you know I understand we're all sinners. I understand. Just like the preacher I talked about yesterday, he said he was a sinner. I didn't like hearing it. And I don't like telling you that I'm a sinner. But if I don't tell you that I get in trouble once in a while with God, and I don't tell you that I get in trouble once in a while with my children, if I don't tell you I don't get in trouble once in a while with my wife, I'd be a liar. And I think that we all need to understand that the reason we're in trouble is because we've let them down. I hate it. I don't do it on purpose. And sometimes you can't not let somebody down, especially in business. You're making decisions. I made 3-4 decisions this morning before I even got on this show that somebody was a winner and somebody was a loser. Somebody got the billboard they wanted for the big donut capital of the world hype, and the other person didn't get it because someone signed up before someone else, and someone followed through and someone didn't follow through, and then they're like, you didn't tell me this, or you didn't tell me, like, no, like sometimes there's just no way around it. Like, you let people down. The flip side is sometimes they let you down and put you in trouble. Like, you said you were going to do this deal this way. You said you were going to do all this way. So I made all these decisions over here. I did this. I did that. I spent this. I spent that. What do you mean you don't want to do the deal now? Now I'm in trouble because I spent the money, the commitments, and all these things that I did over here. And now I'm in financial procurement or a difficult position. I'm in trouble because now I got to let those people down, and they don't understand why you would make it. Yeah, it's just, it goes on. Life is that way. I'm in trouble again. You're in trouble again. All this to say, Zephaniah, we talked about 3:17 yesterday, and I just want to pull this all together this morning and encourage you that the Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves, right? He will take great delight in you. In his love, he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you. We're singing. All I want to tell you is that no matter what you do in life, no matter how hard you try, no how hard my father tried, no how hard my mother tried. Some people don't even try at all. I get that because they're laser focused. But at the end of the day, we're all really, really, really want to not let people down. We all really, really, really would like not to be let down. But at the end of the day, that's just what's going to happen. And you're going to be in some type of trouble. But God says to Zephaniah here, the Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. And like a pastor that really helped bring me to the Lord in a spectacular way, Jay Nichols, he said, people will always let you down, but God will not. In this verse here, all this to say, this verse really brought that home, brought this topic to me yesterday, and I really wanted to drive it home with you. And I just wanted to quickly break down this verse. We did a little bit yesterday, but yesterday we watched the show, and I thought it was a pretty good show. I think it was around different places, and I didn't really hone in. And I called Chad. I said, listen, I really like to hone this in. He said, oh, it was fine. But I think you need to understand that when I say I'm in trouble again, I'm saying you're in trouble again. I'm saying we're in trouble again. I'm saying we can't avoid being in trouble. And the whole piece of troubling is the game of trouble is that God is here for us to deliver us from trouble. He is the only one that can deliver us from trouble. He is the only one that can always be trouble free. When I play the game of trouble with God, there is no board counting. When he snaps that bubble in trouble, it's a 6, 6, 6, 6. He's all the way around the board. He doesn't step on anybody. He comes all the way, and all 4 or 5 of those icons are right in the same spot. He never clicks anything but a 6, and he never steps on anybody around the board, and the kids are never mad at God. And the kids are never mad at anybody. They're just like, oh man, God's really good at the board game of trouble, but I'm not. I am not good at the board game trouble. I'm constantly wondering, how can I live up to this? How can they perform for me so that I can do this? How can I be trouble-free? But the whole possibility of being trouble-free is never a possibility. People will always let you down. And I'm not trying to be a negative person here. I'm just trying to be a positive person, because I want you to understand that the only certainty thing in life that we truly, really have is our faith. And God is the same today as he ever was. He is consistent. He is loving. He is honoring. And he will always be there for us. Even in my situation, my father's going to leave me one of these days, right? My parents are going to leave me one of these days. Even some of the best partners I've had in business over the last 58 years, they leave me one day, right? Like, it's just like not forever. This world isn't forever. Like, we think that we're almost immortal some point. I remember being 30 and thinking, man, I'm bulletproof, baby. I'm not. I was in trouble when I was 30. I'm in trouble when I'm 58. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. And I really want you to understand, the mighty warrior who saves is this never-ending God. And he saves because he knows we're going to be in trouble. I talk to a lot of you day in and day out, and sometimes you're there to help me, and a lot of times I'm there to listen to what's going on in your life, and I'm really trying to be a better listener. I'm trying to be a better coach, but I'm trying to understand, and I want you to understand that this thing you're going through right now, this trouble that you have in your stomach, this trouble in your mind, this financial trouble, this marital trouble, this relationship trouble, this business trouble, this children trouble, this idea of where the world's going to go, who you're going to vote for, all this trouble you feel from Israel, all this trouble you feel around you, the climate control trouble, whatever trouble the news is conjuring up for you today, that trouble, whatever you have laying on your heart right now that's troubling, whatever could possibly be wrong in your life, whether it's cancer or sickness or wealth or whatever it could be, whatever's troubling you, whatever the trouble may be, the trouble board, the trouble game, the trouble people, your personality, whatever the trouble is, I want you to understand that it's not troubling to God. Second Peter 1:3 says, his divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life. No matter what trouble you find in, from Zephaniah 3:17, that the Lord God is with you, the mighty warrior who has to save you from it, he's given us the same resources. In 2 Peter 1:3, he says, his divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life. Amen. The same trouble God allows us to be in 2 Peter, he gives us divine power and everything we need to overcome that in a godly life. Because you're wired differently. Because you're a misfit. Because you're not of this world anymore. Because you've made choices to put Christ in your heart and to put God first. The trouble you've seen, the trouble that may be coming, the mighty warrior will save you from it, because he is the same today as he ever was any day. And he will never let you down. Only people will do that. His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life. God bless you. Have a great day. This has been an awesome, awesome show. Well, let me sign out here in a bit. I'm in scheduled trouble. We talked about it this whole week. I'm behind schedule. I'm never ahead of schedule this week. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go to wireddifferently.com and I'm going to buy some shirts today because I'm ready for some new shirts. I'm going to show them to you. And if you go to wireddifferently.com today and type in the promo code WIRED15, you can be with me buying some new shirts, showing God in your favor, wearing your jersey for faith, for the things that we're doing. All kinds of shirts on wireddifferently.com. Some that say faith, like the one behind us, some of your favorite verses. Some of them say wired differently, all kinds of things. So support God, support this mindset, mission, movement, and ministry. I appreciate everything everybody's doing and the shirts that you're buying. We love it. We need it. We want to keep doing the show. We want to keep doing the things that we're doing. And this certainly helps. So God bless you guys. And I know some of you might be in trouble right now, but you got this. God bless you guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.